Today, I will be speaking with Joseph Onyema, the Group Chief Information Officer of United Capital PLC. We will talk a bit more about his background, we will talk about the future of the investment industry, and obviously the talents and skill sets needed for this future. Thank you, Joseph, for joining us today. Excellent. So let's get straight into it. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself? Obviously, currently you are the Chief Information Officer of United Capital. But what was your journey, getting into this role? And let's let the audience know a bit about it.
Okay, so I started my journey about 13 plus years ago, there about 12, 13 years ago. And I started out briefly around being a developer, trying to make ends meet, then I'll say. And then quickly after that, after 6 months, I moved into stockbroking. I started at the lower rank as an IT officer. And the role was more or less to try to manage the IT devices in the office. And then before long, it scaled, and I was designing the website, I was designing the applications that try to manage investments within the firm. I was a sole IT officer at the point, and then by the time I was 3 years in the business, we had 2 other IT officers, and I became the head of IT, and I realized I had maxed out what the roles within a small IT stock brokerage firm, and so I moved out. And I moved to a technology company, and within the technology company, I was supporting banks. I supported top-tier banks, about 5 of them in between that period. And so we were supporting solutions from treasury solutions to investment solutions, and a bit of core banking, a bit of loan management also across these banks. And that I did for about 5 years, more or less, transitioning from being a technical analyst to a senior product developer, and then to a head of enterprise and cloud service development. So sometime towards my 4th to 5th year, I transitioned to having my own team of developers to start building a cloud service for the business. Like I said, that I did for 5 years, and then I was called out to come back more or less into a bit of stockbroking, but more into something bigger, which was an investment banking firm, to come and try to transition an investment banking firm from a HNI, high net worth individual business, to a retail business. That was also leveraging on the fact that the banks were into retail businesses, and most of those skills within the IT space in automation were around that space. So I joined the business, and what we tried to do was to move a business that had about 1,000 customer base to, when I was living, to somewhere in the range of 10 to 11,000 customer base, to try to leveraging on technology to scale. There I was for about 2 years and 2 months, thereabout, and then once again I was called out to come to United Capital PLC to more or less do the same thing, but this time to stay a much larger ship towards the retail space. One of the things I've come to realize is that in trying to make that clear stare, it's going to be focused on technology. And so in each of those calls to say, come and stay around this ship, it's about being able to bring basically everything about me that I've known about technology to bear in those businesses. And so when I joined United Capital PLC, it was more or less to drive a team that said, this is where we are, where do we want to be in the next 5 to 10 years, and how fast do we want to move around that ship. And so that was how I became to become the Group CIO of United Capital PLC.
Oh, excellent. What a wonderful story. But for our audience who don't necessarily know what United Capital do, can you just explain who United Capital is or what they are?
Okay, so United Capital PLC, simply put, is an investment banking firm. One of the things I like to do is to try to break it down, because investment banking is also one of the core businesses within United Capital PLC. Within United Capital PLC, there are 4 other companies. So there's United Capital Investment Banking Limited, which is focused on investment banking, things like mergers and acquisitions, fundraising, equity listing on the stock exchange, and all of this stuff. Okay. There's United Capital Trustees Limited, which is the oldest trustees in Nigeria as of today, focused on financial planning, education planning, private trust, education trust, your wills, estate management, trusteeships, and all of those put together. There's also United Capital Securities Limited, which ties back to what I did sometime in the early part of my career, which is stockbroking, being able to trade equities, being able to trade bonds, and all the likes. And then there's United Capital Asset Management Limited, which is around mutual funds and all those customized products that are high interest generating instruments, more or less, cut across risk profiles from low risk to high risk. So these 4 businesses together form United Capital PLC, and we are the only listed company today on the Nigerian Stock Exchange within the investment banking sector.
Okay, excellent. So you've mentioned retail a few times in your background. So almost every experience you've had, you say, they're trying to focus on the retail space. So what is the retail space, and why is it important now for investment banks and stockbrokers and asset managers, where you've worked?
Okay, so beyond investment banking firms, to the wider marketing community, quite a number of businesses are beginning to try to switch to the retail space. What that does is that, to some extent, it cuts out middleman. It sorts of increased profitability. So we have a business like Microsoft trying to say, as opposed to being able to sell to my Nigerian partner that sells to businesses within Nigeria, or a Google saying, I have Nigerian partners that sells. Today, as a student, I can buy Microsoft Office off of Microsoft, right?
Okay.
And just buy the packages I want directly from Microsoft, not going through any partner. So what businesses like that have realized is that as your product tends to scale, you have to lower the cost of your products, right,
Sure.
to be able to reach more of the market. But lowering the cost of your product also means lowering profitability.
Sure.
And because you want to stay in business to make profit, you also need to scale, right?
Okay.
So you need to reach more people. Coming through the partnership model, there's only so much people you can reach. But going the retail model, you can scale. The internet is there, and all what we have,
Okay.
the mobile platform, so you can scale. So that's what businesses are beginning to do world over, right? Bringing that back to investment banking sector, one of the things that investment bankers had done is that they had focused on the high net worth individuals, right? Those who had the funds to invest, the heavy investors. And that has created more or less that divide within society where the rich keep getting richer, the poor keep saving, the average savings account at 2.3%, while the rich are investing as high as 19, 21% and all of this stuff. So what we are looking to do now is to say, okay, we want to bring investment to the lower cadre, right? We want to bring investment to the student. We want to bring investment to the newly employed, to the average manager in the system, to the old man who is thinking of retiring, but even at that is not all to do on the wealth ladder. So we're trying to bring investment to a larger sector. And when you look at this sector of the economy, in the Nigerian economy, for instance, you realize that the HNI form basically less than 1.2% of the entire Nigerian economy,
okay,
right? There's a whole chunk of people at the lower rung. And so we're trying to, when I say the retail space, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to the mass affluent and to the lower rung of society to say,
right,
we can help you invest to get to where those people are. So we're trying to bridge the gap between the higher rung and the lower rung to say we want to bring, and that's a larger market out there to play with, right? Okay. That can also help you increase profitability and help stabilize the entire economy. So that's what retail is all about,
right,
being able to reach that mass of people.
Okay. And so what have been your key successes so far, as the CIO in United Capital? Okay,
so coming into United Capital, one of the things I had done was I'd had to sit with 4 of the CEOs, like I mentioned earlier, and then I'd had to say, this is where I think your business is going, this is where I think I see this business going, and this is what I can do to drive this business. And then there were promises made before I came on board. So one of the successes I would say we have made as a group is being able to say, okay, we've launched a platform that speaks to these promises I made, right? And that also speaks to that divide to say we are now able to bring the lower end rung all the way up, which speaks to the new drive we're trying to get from HNI to retail. So we've been able to launch just a few months back the Invest Now portal, platform rather, that has a portal and its mobile app. And then we are looking to scale it beyond just the mobile to other platforms. We are looking at the platforms like WhatsApp. And what we've realized, what I've come to realize, and I tend to tell people that is that as we go forward into the future, it's not going to be so much a battle of businesses anymore. It's going to be a battle of platforms, right? So if I decided I wanted to scale out to mobile, it's because I want to be able to reach more people in a platform that is more accessible to them. people will come on WhatsApp on an average day and say, oh, this is my platform for communication, communicating, right? And we want to be able to reach them on that same platform, right? Sure. You want to be able to say, I want to bring investment to your mobile. And if I can, I want to bring investment to your WhatsApp. Okay. And so that's something we are looking at. And that has been one of the key successes for us, to be able to say we've been able to launch a product, which is Invest Now. You can reach it on investnow.ng, that now speaks to that dream which we've had to drive the retail market. Right. Okay. So that's been one of the greatest successes we've achieved in the last, say, 1 year.
Okay, excellent. Invest Now has the mobile and the web channel, and I know a few other investment firms are also sort of investing in mobile. So mobile seems to be important today for investment banks and stockbrokers. But where is the industry going technology-wise in, say, 5 years, 10 years? Where do you think it's going?
Okay, so one of the things I would say is, first of all, 10 years is too far. I don't think anybody is going to think that far, right, with the rate of change of technology. We didn't think we would be where we were. I was talking to someone about 3310, the Nokia 3310, and it still looked like it was a good mobile device to play with at the time. But if you called it a mobile device today, everybody would say it was a phone. It wasn't a device. All right? So in today's world, we now have people holding powerful computers in their hands, things with deca-core processors in their hands, with as much RAM as the average laptops, and are able to run. And we see businesses now coming out with mobile apps. And what they want to do is they want to say, we want to get what we have as a business on the mobile app. At United Capital, we are taking a different approach. We don't want to get what we have today in our business on the mobile app. We want to get a new experience on the mobile app, right? So what we've done with Invest Now is to rethink the entire process, from the onboarding process of customers, how they come on board. Is it getting the paper-based form to the mobile? No, it's beyond that. We want to make it something as simple as possible, right? Where I can pull data from just your BVN, I'll pull data from your banking channel into this and get you to sign up immediately. But more than that, like I said earlier, it's going to be a battle of platforms. So if I try to do what I've done before in an automated way, it doesn't really speak to it. So I just took what is in paper and tried to make a mobile app, right? Which is what most businesses are trying to do. What we are trying to do is give a platform that sort of institutionalizes investments and then makes it in a way that everybody can invest, right? Regardless of who you are, at your own pace, you can come on the platform, you can learn to invest on the platform, you can start investing on the platform as a student, as a low-income earner, as someone starting your career as a manager, as a big boy earning in dollars. You can have dollar mutual funds. As a person planning your retirement, you can have trust fund. You can have retirement planning on the platform. You can even have your will on the platform to be able to pass on generational wealth from generation to generation. So what we've looked at is being able to get the entire gamut of investment into a platform that will stand the test of time and grow along with our investors, our retail investors. So once again, we are not just focused on the high-end rung. We are able to get the lower guys to do what the high-end is doing, but with a system that guides you every step of the way and helps you make those investment decisions on its own. So that's what we are looking to do.
Okay, fantastic. You talked about the future being a battle between platforms. So now looking on the talent side, this future, what sort of skill sets do you see will be important, to help make this future a reality?
Okay, so for talents, one of the things that I would say we are looking to do now is, like I said, it's a battle of platforms. So once you talk about platforms, it's key that you are going to need a whole lot of people working behind those platforms, either to build those platforms, and that speaks to the developers, the kind of developers you have, and then to keep those platforms running. And that also still speaks a bit of developers, a bit of the database guys, because everything you're going to be doing will be written to along crazy database sizes, right? And those data are going to grow. As those data grows, you'll now be looking at how secure is my platform. So you'll be looking at the security people, trying to secure those platforms, because those platforms are going to grow in leaps and bounds. They are going to grow beyond what you have thought they will grow within Nigeria. They're going to scale to sub-Saharan Africa, and then they will scale to the rest of the world. So you will have security breaches trying to happen every now and then, people trying to break into your application, see what they can get out of it, right? So those will be there. But more than that is being able to look at all of this data, because once this platform is out there and you are generating all of this data, being able to look at this data and be able to say, this is what the future is, this is the kind of investment I need to start making, these are the kind of products I need to churn out. So I look at the generation Y and the generation Z, and I say, okay, what kind of products do I need to give to this group of people that helps them to run with the way their life is, right? Are there people who remote work? What kind of products can I give to them that allows them to say, okay, regardless of what country they are working from, they are able to play around. Okay. And that speaks to people in the data sciences and actuarial sciences. You are beginning to look at those people that can sit down and analyze the data you have and make sense of it. Look at social media data, look at big data, put all of this data together and make sense of it, right? So they are able to look at all of this, they can see a clear future, and then they can translate that clear future to say this is where the business should be going. Okay. Lastly, you need business analysts that are able to sit down, look at the business vis-a-vis regulation and all the restrictions within the financial space, listen to the guys who are doing the data analytics, okay, and then marry all of those data together to say, okay, for what you've told me where the business is going, this is how I think we can approach it from a strategic point of view, sure, and translate that to the guys who are building and maintaining the platforms, okay, right? If you're going to be a platform that is impactful and that remains relevant in the future, you need to be able to translate what they've told you about the future clearly to the people who build those platforms. Okay. So we are looking at, first of all, the data analytics, because they are going to play a lot with those data. We are looking at the business analyst who is going to transition that, and those are going to also be the project managers, right? They are going to work around that space. And then we are looking at the actual developers, database guys, and a bit of the security people around all of those space. Okay. All of those are going to be part of this gamut of what the future is going to hold.
Fantastic. So what you're telling me is that as a student who is about to go into university, I should really be focusing on artificial intelligence or cybersecurity or business analyst or software development, well, right?
Well, I'll start by saying, as a rule of thumb, right, 60% of the jobs available today will not most probably be available in the next 10 years. Okay. Some would like to say the other way around. 30% of jobs today will not be available in 5 years' time. And so it speaks to the fact that if I'm a student today going into school for a 4 to 5 year course, right, am I going into school and when I come out of school and I graduate, they say, what you went to school to read, you are unemployable, more or less, yeah, right? It's irrelevant in today's world, right? So yes, to a great extent, what you've said, those are some of the areas that we know will outlive the next 10 to 15, maybe 20 years, okay, right? We are going to have a lot of data scientists. We are going to have people who will need to do analytics to say, this is where businesses will need to keep going to. And the world is going to play with a lot of data. Mobiles are generating data these days. At the rate we are generating data, yes, the ability to analyze those data is going to be something really heavy, sure, right? We're also looking at automation, right? So once again, yes to that, and to a great extent, why they look at that, a few of the older IT spaces, being able to understand how networks work and being able to support infrastructure will still remain a bit relevant. Okay. They will be slightly smaller in space, as against where every organization needed people to manage hardware. Today we have what we call the cloud, right? Yeah. But for most investment banking, we are going to still be within private clouds. Okay. So we still need people to manage a bit of those infrastructure within the data centers. Okay. So yes, some of those jobs will remain, but they would not be as popular as they are today. They will need much fewer people to manage much more virtual servers, but much fewer people, right? So those will remain, right? Those skills will still remain relevant. But even from the operating system point of view, you get to find out that operating systems are being developed in a way that they are smart to be able to manage themselves to a greater extent. Right, okay. So the data sciences, yes, security will remain for all time, because as technology advances, you also have those who are trying to take advantage of it. So security will always remain. Development will also remain. It may shift and turn, because more and more machine learning will make it easier. Okay. Machines will be able to also write some level of codes, right? So it's going to shift and turn, but it's also a key skill. And then being able to develop for mobiles, wearables, glasses, and all of those things will take center focus. Okay. Because these platforms will need to scale as technology moves around. So yes, as a student who is going into school, you want to look at these sectors and then try to focus on around those. But more than that is being able to realize that whatever the institution gives you is just one step. Your ability to be able to learn beyond what you are given is the next step. So take advantages of the free courses online and then be able to learn on your own and scale as much as possible.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. I think that's pretty useful for, you know, anyone sort of considering a career direction, let's put it that way. So you're a successful technology leader. What would you say have been your key success, what been fundamental, you know, to, you know, you being successful in your career?
Okay, so the first one is I'll try to take a scenario from my interview coming up on in United Capital as the group CIO. When you're interviewed for such a role, you get to realize that one of the things that happens is that they tend to interview you across the entire gamut of IT, right? So you are looking at development, you are looking at mobiles, you are looking at core infrastructure, you are looking at networks, you are looking at security, you are even looking at people. You are looking at people management, you are looking at organizational hierarchy and infrastructure and all of those stuff. You are also looking at effective communication, right? Your ability to communicate with the higher rank, so you are reporting higher up to board of directors, to CEOs and all of those, but you're also reporting downwards also. Most people think reporting just goes up. When you're at this level, you tend to be able to push the drive that holds the lower rank, right? So if there's no clear vision, then everybody is just scattered at the bottom. And you are looking at not just your team, but every team that ties around you. So as CIO, I'm not just looking at the technology team, I'm looking at my customer service team, which essentially I fall under, right? To say, how do I service my customers? All of the retail guys are my customers. So they come to mind first. I'm looking at what data speaks to them. What does the data say that I need to translate to my technology team to say, drive technology in this way? I'm looking at my salespeople to say, how easy is it for you to go to market to try to sell out what we've just given you to sell? And then how do you best talk to the customers? What exactly is the mindset of the customer you are meeting? Which segment of the customer are you meeting to actually talk to? So one of the key success driving factor is effective communication. To be able to communicate effectively, your vision, right, and how you intend to achieve it to everybody that is part of your team. That's one. Two is being able to have a sort of human feeling, being able to empathize with people. You are able to note that technology is technology. It takes people to drive technology, right? If you lose the people, then the technology is gone, right? It's as simple as that. So when you bring people together, you are able to maintain an open, honest, and respectful communication at all time. Also noting that ideas drive everything you do in businesses. I always tell people to spend some time in some quiet solace and try to play on what we call ideation to come up with ideas. So when you have an open, honest, and respectful communication, you get to realize that even the lower end rank of your employee scale, someone at the bottom can bring up an idea that changes everything about the business, right? Because you are open and you are respectful to them, they also come out with those ideas. Today we know that it's the young people that are driving the fintechs that are disrupting the entire sector, right? As you grow older, trying to service these young people becomes increasingly harder because you tend to go out of style with what they want. So you need the bottom of your own team, in quote, what you call the bottom layer of your own team, your new entrants to tell you, this is what we want, right? And then you, from what you have, are able to look at it. So yes, to a great extent is being able to manage people and technology. Yes, you already have a wide knowledge about IT, and that speaks to the fact that for those going into courses on IT, you don't just want to be focused. If I'm a developer, I just don't want to be a developer. I also want to understand every other thing that ties around me. I want to understand a bit about the securities, the security of my code. So the security guy, how he interacts with me. I want to understand a bit about the database guy, how much data do I write, how he plays with that data, how he wants to work with that data, and all of those things together. And all of those things tie together to make success. But success is driven by people. It's driven by a team, not by technology. So it's the ability to manage a team.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think that's really great. That's really great. And I'd like to ask this question. What book would you say has been fundamental to, you know, making you a success, or, you know, obviously changing the way you think, or has been really fundamental in your growth as a person?
Okay, so quite a number of people will say read, and read all the time. I think for me, I would like to stick with two books. And the reason for that is because one book led to the other, right? Both by the same author. But there are quite a number of books around every gamut of IT and all of those. One of the reasons why I stuck to this is because it cuts across teams, businesses, and how you want to keep business moving, right? And so for me, that book is Good to Great. Right? I had this book given to me by one of my CEOs in the past, and it was unique because she came in with a book for every staff and she gave it to us. One of the things that then happened was immediately after reading this book, about 2-3 years later, it releases a second book that sort of counters most of the opinions he had in the previous book, right? And that book is now built to last. So the first step is good to great, trying to move good people to great people, trying to move a good business to a great business, trying to watch how good leaders move to become great leaders, right? We have good leaders, but great leaders are rare. And then you get to realize that once you become a great leader, the next step is built to last. So you are able to say, okay, what I've built, how long would it last, right? So it becomes being able to transition what I've known, right? I don't want to be a leader who, when I step off the stage, everything fails. I want to be able to realize I need to build it to last. So I need to train people, I need to mentor people, I need to get people that are going to take up from where I am. That makes it easy for you to delegate as a business, right? And then build people around you. And so for me, those two books are Good to Great and Built to Last.
Okay, we'll put that on the show notes. Thank you very much, Joseph. It's been a really, really interesting interview, and I must say I've learned a lot. And for anyone that wants to reach you, how best can they reach you?
So most people can reach me on my LinkedIn handle, and it's linkedin.com/OnyemaAJ.
Onyema AJ. Okay. All right. Cool. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
All right.